Welcome to The Best Medicine. I'm your host, Dr. Bradley H. Werrell, and we're here to explore options and potentials to help us grow as individuals and as a community with one another in these difficult times and challenging times. We're exploring all manner of potentials related to the human experience, physical, psychological, medical, spiritual. It's a wonderful opportunity that we now experience in this critical phase of our human evolution. And I welcome you to join us in our podcast, become more aware, and identify with people who are helpful and supportive of you in your efforts as a human being on this planet and elsewhere too. We're going to be meeting people who are doing things that are widely variant from what is so-called normal within our society, in the creative space, within the social space. Our common purpose, seeking to generate positive potentials to improve the lives of everyone in our sphere of influence, and to expand that sphere of influence so that we may positively influence others that are not yet engaged directly with us. That's the goal here. We will learn more about each other as we go. I wish you the very best. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is your host, Bradley H. Werrell, and I've got my friend Andrew here for another episode of the Best Medicine Podcast. Welcome, Andrew. Long time no see.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure.
It's good to see the updates.
fuzzy beards and nonsense. Like, I don't know what to make out of it. I'm not good with hair on my face. And I'm thinking I'm going to leave enough for the barber to do something with, and then maybe I can start looking good for once in my life. Man, I'm not going to put my pin on my label or whatever it is. Lapel.
It's impressive what a professional could do.
That's right. They're impressive. Oh yeah, it's like what in locally, what's his name? Johnny D. What's his last name?
I don't know. It's not Dominion.
No,
but that's the.
Anyway, he does good work.
That's what I hear.
So anyhow,
I'll save my dimes.
I think there's no problem with that. It's an interesting problem. It's like this. It's like, way out in balance, and what's going to happen with your how you manage your resources.
Right. Exactly. Might be good every now and then. I hear it's
it's good. It's good, and it's like, okay, but it's like, what are you trying to get out of it and trying to achieve? It's kind of like with all things, like resource management and time budget, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I was in a conversation recently with one, and he explained it as like a therapist and a financial advisor all in one. He just goes and talks about life, and
that's right.
Gets his stock tips.
Talks to a lot of people. Like you talk to people all day long. You're interacting with them. That's interesting. It's like the barbers, like you got to trust the barber.
Yeah.
Don't go see the barber if you don't trust him. Same as the surgeon, right? It's like, whoa, he's gonna cut you, man. That's his whole intention.
Yeah. You trust him better than most, I guess.
I don't know. It's like, yeah,
you gotta kind of let go and just be like, all right.
Right? Let her rip, man. It's like, okay, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
It's not like
I'm better off.
That's right.
I'm not.
That's right. So what's new in your brain, man?
My brain. Oh, just trying to keep going. I've kind of had some physical limitations of late. I've been crippled by a rock, and
that happened like in September or something, right?
January.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that's not been so long. I thought it was a lot longer. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to get going. It's just being slowed down. It's a lot more in the head than I wish.
A lot more in the head.
Just a lot more time to think and contemplate. And
so what have you been thinking about?
Realize limitations.
That's right. That's what I tell the old people that are like bangled up. They're like 85 years old and they're like trying to run around like they're 30. I'm like, dudes, that's not how this goes. You don't even try. You got to just recognize your limits and work within your limits.
Right.
So that you're acting in a positive fashion. Because it's like that, look, I used to be able to do this and I can't do it now. It's like, that's negative thinking. And that's going to mess your head up bad. Don't do it. Right? So it's like this. It's like, well, it doesn't matter what you can't do.
Yeah.
It only matters what you can do and actually do.
Go with the season.
That's right. So you lay low for a minute and recover. That's hard for people to do though.
Yeah, no, it's been
Because it's like
trying.
just chill out for a minute. Let the world buoy you up a little bit, because it's like, okay. Ran into one patient, he was like, he's young, he's not even 30, and he's like gumbled up in his back, and he's like, they told me he should get back surgery, and he's like, I can't do it, I gotta pay for everybody, and I'm like, dude, you're playing the short game. This is a long game. You play the long game and get the surgery by hook or by crook, so that you can work, as opposed to you can work until you drop, which is you're gonna drop if you don't fix the back.
Yeah, and I guess that's improving, because like I've heard so many people trying to avoid the back surgery just because experience of it causing more harm than
it can happen. Good. I don't have a problem with that, but it's like, okay, you see a guy that's that young and he's like, okay, I'm looking at him, I'm like, the guy says that if you don't like the answer, you get another opinion. But he's like, no, he's like, I gotta feed my family. And I'm like, I respect that, but I think they can buoy you up for a couple extra weeks while you recover from the back thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Nobody gotta like it. You don't have to like it. You're in a pickle, right?
You don't got much choice.
That's right. And it's like, what does that mean? You have to play it strategically. That's how I see it. So what else is going on? Let's see. I've been studying this interesting geometry that's just very weird. It's the geometry of like it's causality of human behavior.
Geometry.
It's geometry because it's like determined. It's not flexible. See, like you like to think you have a lot of flexibility. It kind of goes like this. It's like, okay, you have an intuition of what's right and what's wrong in any circumstance, right? That you earned that by the time you're 7, you figured it out. That's where that comes from, and your family put it in your head. Okay, but where did your family get it from? Your family got it that's intergenerational knowledge. Right? Because it's like, that's what your ancestors said is how we do this. Where did they get it from, though, right? And it's like, so Doolittle says they got it from what he calls a civilizational evolutionary strategy. Okay? And what's interesting is that's geographically determined. So if your family is predominantly from Northern Europe, you have one set of parameters that you regard as moral, like value structure, that you call what right and wrong, right? Intuition. But if you're from the Middle East, you have a different one. And if you're from India, you have a different one. And if you're from China, you have a different one. Okay. And the key function being this is like the deterministic factors have to do with the geography, the local competition. And the interesting one is the first social institution that was generated by the civilization. Okay, so he gets pegged for being a Nazi because it's like he's a Western European guy. He likes Western Europe, and he thinks they're the best because they advance the fastest. Well, right? Well, I mean, it's like everybody has a bias. So he's a Western European guy. He's from Western Europe. It's like I get to think that my people are doing it right.
Okay.
And it's like the issue is. He's like, Western civilization has the fastest evolutionary strategy of all the civilizations. And he points to the fact that the Western civilization generated all the technology fast and outstripped all the other ones for whatever reason. Well, it's like they can't beat them militarily, so they beat them by other means.
It seems like militarily is losing out.
Who?
It seems like militarily might is not the dominant force, and
no, there's other forces
like losing out. That might not be the way to proceed.
No, we're in agreement. It's like that's what Doolittle even says this. He's like, the issue is there's other forms of warfare that we don't consider warfare in Western civilization because it's like that's not what we. He said this. This was funny. It's like this. We civilized the man-type warfare, which is straight up fisticuffs right on the spot. But we didn't civilize the women. The women were being domesticated by the men or held down by their men. And they weren't allowed to just generate subversive elementary functions. They were being held down by them. And it's like, now we released them and we don't have a way to deal with their subversive activities, which is warfare like women style, right?
Okay.
And woman style warfare will be like this: is destruction of your reputation, undercutting you, and it's verbal and not it's indirect, right?
He's working out some intro. He's trying to work some things out. What's Doolittle trying to do with these thoughts of Western dominance? And
no, not Western dominance. Not Western. Wait, it's not Western dominance.
Losing power over women.
No, that's not it. It's just like he wants to. That's so entirely wrong.
Okay.
It's like he wants to. There's two ways to deal with any problem. Okay, there's a civil way and there's a military way. Okay, so the civil way is how do we cooperate? So he wants to be able to cooperate with people and minimize the amount of friction we have in our daily interactions in the Western style. And he's like, the only way to do that is to create laws against lying in public, the public sphere. Okay, which is like he says that his says that weakness of Western civilization is the free speech thing, which is not unrestricted free speech. He says that we act like it's unrestricted free speech, but we are enabling people to lie and gain advantage and take advantage of our commons, which is we trust people too much. Okay, so they tell lies and mislead a bunch of people, and then take advantage of us through so-called democracy.
Okay.
What's that mean?
Limits on free speech.
Well, it's like this. It's like
who's going to be this arbiter?
Oh, I understand.
What is true and
it's interesting because it's like this: the court can decide what's true and what's not true.
The court.
That's their job. They're supposed to be neutral, decide what's true and what's not true. Who's lying here? One of you is lying. And who's lying more than the other one, and why? And then it's like someone's lying, so they don't get to lie. You don't get to lie because it's it's like the tragedy of the commons is the problem.
Do we still believe that the court is neutral?
That's a different function.
Or that, like,
no, that's a different function. I'm not even going to enter into that one because I understand your point, and I'm not going to argue with you.
Okay.
Because it's like the court is ideally neutral, and that doesn't hardly cut mustard, does it?
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember the details of the study, but the part that I remember currently is like even like a judge's opinion will change on whether it's before or after his lunch.
I don't doubt it for a minute. And it's like,
or Friday.
And he says there's not enough judges is one of the things he says, because you need more judges, so they should just be working half time, because it's a lot of work to be the judge and figure it out, because it's all individual cases, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to make shortcuts, because a human, one of the functions of psychology that we talk about is we try to save energy, because we want to make it's expensive to operate the brain, right? So it's like we want to save the use of this because it takes too much energy and it's too much work to try to figure out what's going on. So we make shortcuts. So we categorize, and we have biases and prejudices that we employ to make quick decisions, like, oh, this guy's trying to rip me off, man. It's like, whoa, wait a minute, right? That's a different deal than, okay, we're just working together and we don't have to pay attention to each other because we're just working, right? And we understand what each other are doing in the circumstance. So that will be, we're operating within our intuition. So where this intuition comes back is like this, is like, it's like, look, you have an intuition. It's inherent to you, because you weren't like a cognitive agent when you're 7, when you finally got it kind of solidified in your head, what's right and what's wrong. Everybody's doing what they think is right. Okay. And it doesn't matter. You're doing what you think is right, even if it is hostile to me. And it's okay. It's okay, but it's still hostile to me, which is a form of warfare, right? Which is to say, if I wish to remain civil, I make a law to make it so you don't get to do that to me. Does that make sense? So that I can say, hey, you're stepping all over my toes, man. Stop it. And the court will enforce it. Then we have a civil arrangement, right? And if you don't like it working within this state structure that has that arrangement where you don't get a step on my toes because you think it's right to do so, then you could go somewhere else, and it's okay too. right? That's the point here. Otherwise, it gets ugly.
Mhm.
That's the premise here. And I'm like, we wish to remain civil, because it's like it costs too much to go every other way. That's the thesis, the general thesis of it. And I don't see anything wrong with it. And what's funny, Doolittle says he calls himself a classic liberal, and I see him as that. He seems like that to me, and it's just like so opposite of this Nazi theory, right? And it's just because he's a Western guy. He likes Western civilization. He wants to. It is. He's like, the way Western civilization worked was it was most closely aligned with the truth above all in their value structure, because the first institution of Western civilization was the law. Okay, because it's just the way I tell it goes like this. So two white guys are in a room. Okay, and so the one white guy says to the other white guy, I want you to tell me everything you know right now, exactly when you learned it, and without embellishment, because someone's going to get hurt. We are going to hurt someone, and we want to make sure we hit the right people and not the wrong people. That's Western civilization. Okay? It's like, so we want to make sure that we're judicious in our application of the use of force. Right? That's Western civilization. And it's like based on truth. And it's like above all else. So even if it makes you look bad, you tell the truth, because otherwise you're being bad. Okay? And it's like, the issue is that makes you match more closely to what's really going on in the real world than you tell sort of a myth that kind of makes enough sense that I don't call you on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. It strikes me as like, what is it? History is made by the victors. And it's like, what is truth?
That's
It's
interesting.
like,
well, no,
the
I don't
truth
agree
is
with
gonna
that.
be
No,
those that are like,
no, bullshit. I don't agree with that one bit.
no.
Because it goes like this. It's like, yes, truth is written by the history is written by the victors. That doesn't mean history's the truth. We don't even accept. I don't accept it as the truth.
Okay.
I go like this. It's like, no, history is a myth that was written to cause the structures that be to exist and flourish, which is the myth. It's a myth, and it's not true.
But the cultural awareness or belief or structure they make around truth, is that not intended to be also created by the dominant?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
people
But
of
it's
the
like,
time?
that's not what we're talking about.
Okay.
The actual truth. So
The actual
the
truth.
Greeks would talk about logos, the word of God that made the rules of what's going on here. That's the truth.
Hmm.
So it's like Western civilization matches the best. Yeah. The conversation goes like this. It's like there's two kinds of logic. You can deviate to the left, which is inflationary logic, and to the right, which is deflationary logic. Okay. And so inflationary logic will be like this. It's like everybody's for justice, right? What the fuck does justice mean? Everybody puts in their own interpretation. I'm for justice, and I think you're saying the same thing, and we kind of are nodding our heads together. And it's like, it doesn't mean jack, because we don't have to agree with what the real answer is, because justice is not concrete.
Right.
Okay, so but it's like this. If you go around that corner and look at that cat, you will see that he is black, just like I did. Okay, that's a concrete statement that's deflationary, and it's like there's really no room there's no inflation there, because it's like either you do it or you don't, and you see it or you don't, right? It's like, and it's testable hypothesis. So reproducible results, so empirical reality. That's reality.
Yeah.
So that's what Western civilization matches empirical reality better than all the other ones, because they like do other things first. They're more interested in like harmony or other things. Just a thought, man. I was like, it's not meant to be more than a thought.
But I mean, I'm not super aware of Doolittle, but it seems like Doolittle and folks along those lines, it seems like they are trying to create a structure around their ideas, and it seems like the intent is to have those ideas shape the society in which they want.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think that. I know it's definitely, there's a bias there, which is I prefer Western civilization to the civilization which is attempting to superimpose itself upon my civilization without asking me, right? And I'm like there too, because I'm like, I reject the premise that someone gets to superimpose their preference of their civilization on me by order, which is like one of the things we talk about is law, which is natural law, which is we cooperate. So you, as long as you don't do something bad, you can do whatever you want, and we define what is bad. Okay, as opposed to command, which is I said you can't do, you have to do that. That's what is being attempted to be superimposed on Western civilization's natural law. And it's like nobody asked the Western civilization people. They're just undermining and eroding our institutions and subverting our institutions by lies. And I'm like, that seems like a very reasonable premise to me and unacceptable too. So it's like, that's how I'm seeing it.
Yeah. If Western civilization was also founded on myths and lies, then
okay, what?
Then I mean,
no, I'm not. No, it's like I'm not arguing that point.
And
I don't. It's like
I don't know if I chose Western civilization.
It doesn't matter what you chose. You didn't choose. The premise is you're a bot and you're running social programs that you don't understand in the background, that you don't even pay attention to, that are making your behavior crank out like the way it is.
Okay, so but why would I be more like, I don't feel like I needed to defend Western civilization.
That's because you're lazy. You're demoralized. It's like, it goes like this. It's like, I know it's rude, isn't it? Because there's no way to fight with it. It's like, it's like,
I guess I haven't been convinced it's worth fighting for.
What's worth fighting for then?
I mean, I think I have my own structure, my family, and I don't know. It would be interesting to actually be like.
That's the question. That's the real question right there. Because it's like, look, what's the legacy, man?
And I think.
How do you fight for your family?
Okay.
What values do you stand for? Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's the question. It's the values, and it's like, okay, that's the civilization is the values, and it's the intuition.
Those values have not solely been influenced by Western ideals, and
I'm not arguing
that there is a cultural melting pot, or I don't know what you would call it, but like it's not a sole influence. And I'm not in
argument here. I agree with this. It's my bunch of magnets pulling you in all directions. I agree with that. And it's like, but the question is this: is the values? How do you transmit your values most effectively? Through cross generations. Right? Because how do I make it better for the children's children of my children, which I'm never going to meet? Mm-hmm. Right? How do I do that? And what are the values that I want them to enjoy? Right? That's how I see it. And I'm a Western civilization 100%, which is not perverse Western civilization as influenced by external forces that have been perverting Western civilization for a long time by my estimation. Okay? I'm interested in, as long as you're not doing something bad, do whatever you want. Okay? As long as we have a way to account for all externalities. Right?
Yeah. But I mean, that bad goes into what is truth and what is justice, and like that things aren't.
Well,
I mean, and that it isn't concrete. I think what we've seen as like justice has shifted over time, and that. What is it that like Martin Luther King says is that the curve of justice is a wide arc.
That's a different function. That's a different function than truth, though. I think we can determine truth. Look, it's like we cannot know truth, but we can know false, and we can know how false, relative falseness. Some things are just plain never going to be true, and some things are kind of more likely to be true, but they're not true. And it's like we cannot prove something's true because you have to only falsify. You're going to have to say it's not true. So it's when I can't prove that it's not true, it's close enough for this purpose. Right?
Yeah, I don't know. I just find it concerning that it seems like that there are numerous issues in our society which seems to be continually divisive, even though it seems like
I know, right? It's like, oh, wait, and here's the trick. Here's the trick. It's like this. People intentionally make us divide amongst ourselves for the purpose of dominating us, okay? And it's like, to me, it's propaganda and nonsense being driven into the society as an untruth for the purpose of dominating the two of us who happen to be on other sides of the divide of the lie. Right? And it's like that's the thing that's the lie that I'm after. I'm after the people who try to divide the people, because the people really got no good beef with one another, as far as I can tell. It's like nonsensical and made up to generate alienation among a fragment of the population to use against the other fragment of the population. This is old, man. I have the book by Caesar right over there.
Yeah.
Divide and Conquer. It's challenging, isn't it, man? It's like challenging.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like this like Western Eastern thing is just another way of dividing, or even just a way of like shaping language to divide or to create a conversation or to. It almost seems like some sort of like political correctness in language, of like.
So you're like deconstructionist in your intention here.
I don't know. Maybe I'll go there. It strikes me as like white.
Oh my. Oh my. What does that mean? What does that mean?
It seems like a Aryan European archetype of is a new paradigm. Is the same as classical liberal. It's just a way of shaping language to try to skirt touchy issues, or to yeah, I don't know.
I don't quite understand that. It's like that was kind of vague, man. It's like I was like I get it. I'm like, I find the whole whiteness myth. It's like and it's interesting because it's like you can call it whiteness, okay? I don't care. It's not. It's like it's not race based upon a race, okay? So it's like the suggestion that whiteness is something about race is just bullshit, which is a lie. Okay. It's about a value structure, a value system that is allowing every race to enter into it at will, and allowing and encouraging participation, and being subverted by people who are racist that call themselves anti-racist. That's my opinion. And I'm like, well, but we don't have to agree. But it's like, okay, what's that mean? Oh, hell, it gets awful dicey, doesn't it?
Yeah, very dicey.
Because it's like, well, what does that mean? It's like, I find the introduction of color terms into it to be a racist function. Because it's like, yeah, that's not what this is. It's about values. And like, what is the proper values? And it's like, we have a clash of civilizations, and they're based on differential value structures clashing into each other that are necessarily hostile to one another.
Why do they need to be hostile to one another?
They just are. They're different. It's like this. So it's like this from Doolittle's formulation is that so Middle Eastern civilization goes like this. It's like where you go, their origin is they first created religion, okay, and they're surrounded by a lot of hostile tribes, okay, and so it's like this. So one tribe is going to dominate over the other tribe, so that the instinct of the tribe is to dominate the other tribes and cause them to submit by whatever means. And then you tell a bullshit story, which we call the religion, to make everybody accept it. Okay? That's what I see happening. That's attempting to superimpose itself upon Western civilization, which values truth above all else, regardless of the bullshit. We're not interested in your bullshit. We just want to know what really is going on here, and we're trying to match that, and that's how we flourish. And it's like, so you're trying to impose your domination on my moderation and agreeability and like cooperative nature. And it's like, I just want to cooperate. I want to cooperate, but you keep on trying to impose upon me with your domineering command structure. You want to command me. And it's like, I don't want to be commanded. So I am not accepting commands. So we have a big problem. That's necessarily hostile. Does that make sense? When you think you are obligated to command me, and I say I don't take commands, we're gonna end up in blows unless we figure out a civil resolution to this.
Just curious how a culture would adapt to a cohesion while also feeling like always under the attack. And I'm not sure if I understand where the perceived attack is coming from, if the goal is to cohabitate or to cooperate.
This is, I don't take commands. I will voluntarily agree to such things as I agree to with you, which is we're going to be on par, and we'll make agreements with one another, which we can do business. That's what that is. As opposed to you are standing on a pedestal and telling me what to do. That's the difference. And it's like, because I got the high position, I tell you what to do, right? Which is necessarily means I gotta poke you off the hill, because I need to be on the hill, because I can't have you on the hill. That's stupid, right?
So who's going to be on the hill?
Well, one of them is claiming the hill because they think it's the only right thing they can do in the circumstance. I must take the hill and then tell everybody what to do. So that's where the monopolists are coming from.
Whereas they want to hold the hill?
Yes, they want to hold the hill.
So why would one not want the hill? If the hill is something to be argued or fight up over,
it's like this. It's like this. That's not Western civilization.
Entitled to the hill.
That's not Western civilization. Western civilization is not about taking hills. Western civilization is about we'll do business and cooperate and not do bad things, and we'll get along. It's middle class kind of thing.
Where has there not been a bad thing? Where has it, like, what is this great clean part of Western civilization that has not been like soaked in blood and
wait, whoa, don't be rude. That's rude. Because it's like you're singling out Western civilization as if every other civilization isn't dissimilarly soaked or worse. So I'm not having it. I'm not having that one, man. I like that though. That was a good try. No, because it's like I hear what you're. Look, human history is just a bitch.
Okay.
And I'm not arguing the difference, but it's like this. It's like the let's say. I don't know. It's like this. It's like they keep on getting superseded by corruption. They keep on getting corrupt ones on top. And it's like because they haven't mastered this yet. They haven't mastered how to prevent these lies from taking over. That's the argument.
Okay. So
it's like
maybe instead of like taking it away from a theoretical that I'm having a hard time my understanding or perspective on like, let's say like the affairs that we are in, right? So if it seems like the Western side feels like they're on some sort of defense, correct? So why it seems like they feel like they're on the losing end of things, or that they somehow need to be fighting for control of what they have. And I'm wondering if it's not because it's very close to being supplanted.
No, it is supplanted.
Okay.
At least by all appearances, which I believe to be false. And it's like there's great forbearance among the Western civilization, which is like, this is highly irregular and is great notice is being taken. And it's like, and a great deal of we're holding back. We're not doing anything. We're just watching.
So if it's the corrupt that keeps rising to the surface, was that what was said?
Yes.
Then why is it a good system that needs to be default.
Well, that's what we're seeing right now is the corrupt rising to the surface. So it's like, I'm not saying it's a good system because we haven't mastered how to prevent that from occurring.
That's a new occurrence?
So it's reoccurring.
Reoccurring.
So like, it's like the issue is like this. It's like, and I'm just giving a guesstimate. It's like Western civilization. So the destruction of classic civilization, the destruction of Rome, the destruction of the Catholic Church was destroyed because it was corrupt. The French Revolution and the American Revolution. The French Revolution was too far, and then the 20th century, it's like just all corruption. And it's like, so that's how I see it. And it's like, we're now coming to the culmination of the 20th century because all the lies are coming to a head. And it's like, all the checks are going to bounce and everybody knows it. I don't think that you would argue with that.
I don't think so. But yeah, I guess so what did you have a hope of something reclaiming?
That's a funny thing. People ask me about my damn hopes. I don't give a rip about hopes. It's like this. I have expectations. I have expectations. Okay. I don't. It's not that I have hope, but I have expectations, and it's like a hope suggests some kind of emotional investment. Okay, but I'm like this. No, I expect this to occur. It's just what I see. This is how this goes, and it's like it's not about hope. And I don't hope against hope or whatever you would say, but it's like the issue is my expectations are that the springs are being wound up and this is the way the clock will turn. Right. And it's like right now it's the corruption coming out to its maximum, which is its lies and nonsense. And it's like, well, what does that mean? It's like even the most jaded eyes will open. That's what I think is going to happen, and that's not true. Because I'm confident there are some so demoralized they won't be able to see the truth if you put their face in it. And it's okay. It's just nothing is that clean, okay? Because it's like everybody's emotionally invested behaviorally invested and emotionally invested in what they want to believe as much as what is actually true, right? Because it's easier to cause you to believe what you want to believe than what is really happening. So it's kind of easy to confuse people by telling them some nonsense that they want to hear. They will have a hard time accepting what is actually occurring if confronted with the truth. And so that's one of the things that I would say the great lie is pandering to the biases and prejudices of people who want to make shortcuts and not do the work to get where they want to go, and they want to take it from someone else. I mean, it's like this. It's like, how hard is it? I'm going to give you reparations for blah, 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 that happened generations and generations ago. And I'm going to take it from guys like you because fuck you and your white collar, right? And it's like, okay, I'm going to have a hard time buying that one and it's like, okay, but I can see it being an easy sell for some people who want to get an easy way out, right?
I guess it's sometimes easy to think that someone else's road is easy. I think it's dismissive of
no. That's not what I'm saying. You're misrepresenting what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like this is like, no, you want me to pay you $100,000 or whatever the number is. Okay. And I'm like, you want the easy road to come from me. That's what you're telling me. I want you to give me the easy road now. And you're demanding it and commanding it from on high. And I'm supposed to bow down to some other force. And that's what's being asked. That's how I regard it.
So,
and it's like,
why do you think it's a personal?
Well, I never held any goddamn slaves.
Okay.
Right? And it's like, I call it personal when you want to take my shit. Does that make sense?
But it seems on one side you wish to be a part of this society and this Western civilization, but yet
I'm based on cooperation.
Based on cooperation,
yes.
Which, I mean, doesn't some of that come down to responsibility? And
I will hear that argument. What do you have to say about it?
It just seems like reparations or otherwise, there's debts to be paid. And it doesn't matter how late
Wait, whoa, whoa, whoa,
becomes
whoa, whoa,
due.
whoa, 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 whoa. I'm not arguing this point, but it's like, okay, I don't know how you're going to I don't know that I agree with the premise.
Okay.
Okay, because I agree with this general sentiment of it, but how in the hell are you going to enumerate that? It's like, yeah, it's arbitrary. It's bullshit and arbitrary. You're just making stuff up. So I'm guilty, and then you're going to alleviate it by money debt. Okay. I would regard that as fiction.
That doesn't.
I know.
I'm not making
I'm not-
a decision
I'm
how
just-
things are.
I know. Nobody is.
I-
It's okay,
I think
man.
some people will. I mean, that's how.
I've had people
things
tell me
work
the
out.
number. I've
Yeah.
had people tell me the number. I'm like, this is interesting. So I talked to Doolittle about this because he's like this. It used to be a system of civilizing human beings, okay? Which is you go from slave, which is somebody has to take care of you because you're not capable of taking care of yourself, to serf, which is you can take care of some of your obligations, but I'm going to split the proceeds with you, to free man. Now you're on your own, right? To citizen, which is now you're willing to help substantiate the state. So there was a natural progression, and we're trying to raise people up through the ranks to get them to be citizens. That was the premise. And it's like,
I think that's trying to clean it up a little bit. Like it doesn't. It just.
I'm not going to argue that. I'm not going to argue that. I don't think it's trying to clean it up. It's trying to describe it. And I would say this. It's like, it's like, how do you define what's really going on, right?
Okay.
Right. It's like every racial group has been enslaved. Okay, so it's like kind of not an interesting story to me, because I get you. It's like one of those, oh shucks, right? I get it. And it's like, I can't fix it because I can't unenslave people that are long gone. But I can't, I really have a problem with is rewarding people for bad behavior. I don't want to do that. And I sure don't want to mix with them. And I sure don't want them voting in my republic.
Well, the thing is that the culture has largely benefited off of things that are. Trying to remember the word that was used, but like the culture has profited off of things that have not been just or right. I know that seems to be the structure that has existed.
I don't know that I would agree with that. I would say that no, that's like no, the culture's been damaged by inequities and injustice. That's not helping the culture. So it's like that's not true. That's a false statement.
It wasn't.
I would say some elements may have benefited, some classes may have benefited, and they're just distributing costs on other people, and they don't get to do that. That's illegal.
The system that was largely profited off of plantations and
I don't know. I'm not familiar enough with
universities that were built by slaves that continue to profit off of those buildings, or
I don't know enough detail. I just
within Washington D.C. that continue to profit. I mean, it's just there's those that have gained on a system.
Yeah, that's you individuals, yeah. Okay. And I think they're responsible for what they have gained. And it's like, okay, if you want to hold them responsible, that's fair. You can have a tort against them. That's fine. Okay.
But those institutions weren't upheld for the sake of profit as a society and a culture, and has continued to be perpetuated from.
I think that one requires validation and to prove it, because it's like, okay, I'll listen to the argument, okay, but I'm not going to accept it on face value as by an assertion, right?
Okay.
Does that seems reasonable to me, man? It doesn't prove it. It's like, because I don't know. And it's like to judge that one is like, well, that's more than a 1 hour sit down.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like this. I don't know that any of this is going to be publishable.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
Can we
oh,
go-
I'm going to be on the third rail, man. I'm like, whew.
Can we go?
Ah!
Can we go there? I was kind of.
What?
What's the podcast for you?
We're just talking. I like this. It's like what I'm doing is I don't really know, man. I'm trying to make the online medical service for cash only patients, which is rebellious, man. I'm presuming that the system is not as it appears. We're not going to go full crazy ass stupid Marxist. That's not what's happening here. That is an illusion, and it's entirely bullshit. It has no basis in reality whatsoever, despite the thinking of many people. Okay, and it's like, so if I put out effort and cash to do this, I'm betting that that's what's happening. Okay, and it's like this. It's like that. America can be America and not some crazy communist, Leninist hellhole, which is what it appears to be doing right now, which is entirely false as far as I'm concerned. And it's like, that's not what's happening here. What appears to be happening here is not what's happening here. Okay, it is just a near-death experience for my dear country. Okay, and it's like until enough people wake up because they feel the pillow on their face while they're sleeping, right?
I mean, hasn't all of this history of your dear country been feeling like it's like on a near-death experience?
No, not really. No, I don't. Not really. Because I had this conversation.
The adjustment of its history has been like.
No, I had this conversation with my mom. Okay, my mom, she's like this. She's like, I said, it's like this. It's like, Mom, you don't understand this. She's nearly awakening modern liberal. Okay, and it's like this. The reason she can remain in the illusion of modern liberality, which my father more firmly remains in, is because your intuitions worked. The way your parents taught you worked in the circumstances in which you lived. Okay? And the same values which you put in my head as my intuition entirely got me fucked up and beat up for 25 years doing my profession. And it's just an ass whooping from up and down and everybody telling me I got white privilege, and fuck them. Fuck you and my white privilege too. It's like some bullshit. And it's like this. It's like my head's bloody. I'm gray haired. Look at that shit. Right? And it's like this. And I'm not wealthy. And it's okay. It's okay. But that's what it takes to get your head straight. That's what it takes. Okay. And that's my intuition has been adjusted by learning, which is very expensive compared to going on intuition, which my parents were able to do. Okay. So it's like, if you can go on intuition, that's cheap. Doesn't require a lot of this, which is expensive. Right. And so it's like the reality has changed so significantly in the last 30 years or whatever you want to say. It doesn't hardly matter. But it's like, it's an entirely different game. And so the issue is this is the people who are riding on their intuition cheap now are the lefties. That's how I see it. And it's like because they don't think. They don't have to think because their shit's working for them. Right? Which is, I'm a Nazi or some other fascist terminology that doesn't mean anything because I don't agree with them. Okay? And they get to squelch my free speech and they get to parade it around and do no, and everything works great. What's the problem here? Why are you such a malcontent, right? And it's like, yeah, the command thing where you guys tell me what to do doesn't work for me because that's not Western civilization. I'm not doing it. And it's okay. I will keep my coat buttoned up and water and ducks, right? Until it's time to do something different. And it will happen if it happens. And it's like, okay, too. And it's not a big deal. And so it's just watch the show until the rain stops. And the rain will stop. That's what's really going on here, in my opinion. It's just it's like, envision the cat sitting outside on the sidewalk in the rain, looking at you through the screen with his ears down and all wet. Just that's where he's at. That's me, man. I'm just like.
So how's the for cash going?
Not doing anything. So it's like this. I had to wait. I had to put it in abeyance because it got kind of I was disappointed by the people that I hired and paid a lot of money to. And that happens. And it's like, okay, so what? what about it, right? I gave them the money. They get to do whatever they want with it. And that's what they did. And it's like, okay, I didn't end up with a thing that I was hoping for. And it's like, okay. And so I'm like, I'm just back up a minute, stop paying the money and see what happens next. So I'm still working the podcast. The podcast is designed to generate interest in whatever the hell's going on and try to get people to support that work and act as advertising in a way, because I think there's a large demand for cash only services, unless we go full crazy Leninist, and then it's a dead duck, right? And I don't think we're going to go full crazy Leninist, okay? I'm still sitting on it for a couple more months.
I mean,
that's a nice scar, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna
show the studio audience, man.
I guess if they're gonna do that. I don't know how to do that.
It's tough. Hang on. I got it. It's a calcaneal fracture repair job, man. There we go. Oh boy. Don't move. Look at that. See, that's a nice scar right there. Wait. Hang on, Andrew. Hang on. I can get a little bit more. What?
You got editors to edit.
There we go. Okay. Sorry, man. We had to do that because it was good. That was good. What a hard conversation, though, huh? It's a hard conversation.
Yeah, no, it's good to be challenged. I appreciate it.
I do too.
The mental stimulation.
It's tough, man. Well, taking care of kids and family is on a whole nother plane. It's it's not doing this stuff, and it's okay. That's where you need to be anyway. Take care of the rubber meets the road, right?
So I'm intrigued with the cash only thing because I think that's why don't you think that's
because the Marxists and the corporates are working together against guys like me forever.
Okay.
Because they wish to destroy the middle class.
So why is there? Have you come across any official or elected office that seems to be like raising that as an alternative?
No. They keep on talking about it's universal health care and no. It's just nonsense. And it's like, okay, the only way to make it more expensive is to make it free. Free is the most expensive. There we go.
Yeah, but until there is something presented, I mean, we're going to look for a solution.
No, it's right? Like this. What does that mean?
Perhaps the Marxists will win if an alternative is not brought forward.
Because no, it's like I don't think the Marxists can't win. No. They can't win. Marxists always lose because they can't organize anything. They can only fail. Now the Chinese can win because they're a perfect fascist state.
Okay,
they're ethno-nationalists. Well, that's Germany, man. They copied Germany. Well, is that not an argument?
Yeah, I don't know if they seem to be doing all right.
Like this.
It's a little frightening. It seems like their approach is the cultural. Like we were started with the military, other solutions to the military might. It's like the states seems all their endless wars hasn't been getting them as far as the New Silk Road.
We'll see what happens. I don't have a problem with the Chinese, and I think they've chosen a matter that is probably the most efficient way for the Chinese people. Okay, and it's like I don't begrudge them their choices. Okay. I have a problem with the Americans being lied to. I have a problem with the Western Europeans being invaded and lied to. That's my problem. And I don't regard it as much more than that. It's just like I don't respect it. And it's like telling lies about what's going on. It's like that's fair enough too. I have a problem with the lies. And it's like if I can help Doolittle to eliminate the lies from our commons, I think that we're doing good work, because it's like let's figure out a way to determine if we can get rid of the lies by legal means as opposed to like by fisticuffs. That seems reasonable to me, because I'm like all about civil. I just want to cooperate with people, and I hate being told what to do. right?
It just seems the courts and this and
I'm not here
Another-
to. I'm not here to argue for the
we're
justice system.
Okay.
Good Lord.
another form of violence.
What is that?
It's just another form of violence and coercion.
Yes. It's organized violence versus disorganized violence. Okay.
At least the trains run on time.
Oh my! I know what that means. That sounded rude. That's. I appreciate that. That was good humor, man. The trains do run on time, and it's like, well, I don't know. It's like the issue is this. It's as long as the right people get hurt, right? This is the most controversial aspect of what Mr. Doolittle says, which is, I know it's like, and that's like, since we're diving in with both feet into the deep water, it's like, wow, let's do it. So the issue is this. He says one of the secrets of Western civilization, how they advanced so fast, was he calls soft eugenics. So the people who have failed to adapt, they are restricted in their reproductive capacity. Okay? Because it's like this. If you get thwarted with too great of an underclass that can't adapt, then your civilization sinks. It's devolutionary. It can't advance. And so you point to Africa as they have such a large underclass that they can't advance. So they have to squeeze that bottom part down. So there's enough of they can establish a competency hierarchy that can function. As it's too wide, it can't function because they can't organize all that into something that produces. And the problem is the people at the very bottom of the say competency hierarchy. Okay, so the least adapted people, they can't take care of themselves, right? You have to take care of them or they die, right? And so you either let them die or you take care of them. And he's like, let's take care of them. That's what caused me this would reverse my opinion on the universal basic income.
Okay.
Because it's like this. It's like, because he's like this. You can't, they could do it our way. It's just very expensive financially and emotionally, because you have to pinch people down that don't want to be pinched down necessarily. Civilize them and get them into the game where they can cooperate and be productive. So you decrease the ones that can't produce, because there's all kind of reasons why they're not adapted. It doesn't matter. Right, but you have to limit the reproduction, because if they proliferate into like 500 people in 4 generations or whatever the number is, then your costs are just going through the roof. You can't do it.
How are you limiting their reproduction?
Right.
Just as
so in Western civilization, they hung 1% a year, is what he says, for about 1,000 years. It's like you're a crook, you're a criminal. Huh. You've seen these there's fossilization bog fossils. Yeah, those guys have ropes around their neck quite frequently. Right? And it's like, okay, bog preservation, peat bog preservation. If you want to look that up, look up peat bog preservation. If you want to see some weird fossils, that's some weird stuff. That was my my paleontology professor's favorite kind of fossil was the peat bog fossils, which they don't have bones, but their skin is intact.
The leather people?
Yeah, they're leather people. They're all tanned out. Right? Okay. So it's like that. It's like you limit the resources available at the bottom so that they don't reproduce. It's like they just don't do it. And it's like you have to have a moral imperative. You don't reproduce with people who can't produce. You don't do it, because that's devolutionary. Okay, that was the function of Northern Europe. So he talks about this thing.
On the flip side, the productive classes often also they're not reproducing.
I don't have anything to say, but that's currently, I would say, is what you're referring to.
Yeah.
And it's like that's demoralization. They don't know they don't even know what's going on anymore. They're just confused and paying attention to too much Newsweek or something. And it's like he points to this line in Europe that's called the Hajnal line, Hajnal for the listeners, right? And above that line is one of the rules was you can't pay if you can't take care of yourself as a man, You don't get to marry the girl. You show that you can make a living, then you can have a girl. Okay? And it's like all middle class in north of that line. Everywhere else was kind of a little bit haywire. And it's like, so look that up if you get a chance. I'll write it down for you, Andrew, because it's Ajna aligned. It's like,
It's been a long time since I got an index card.
I know, right?
Things to look up.
That's for the audience. That Andrew used to be my audience, my assistant. And he gets to like keep him on track. So the
It's a
Ajna
good
aligned,
system.
it works. It's like it's not pretty. Is that if you can see? It's just it's a little messy. It's all right. So it's like but the issue is like this. Is like he's like this. Is like this is Doolittle, and he's quite a compassionate fellow because he likes all the people, and any civilization could follow our pattern if they so chose to do once they're educated in it. As it stands, he doesn't hold them responsible for and I think his system is this is it was deterministic that you fell into the intuition you have because you didn't pick your family and your family didn't pick the civilization they came from. And that's the influences that you were embroiled in before you were cognizant. So it's like, it's just your intuitions are what they are. And they were baked in the goods before you were awake. And it's like, it's not your fault and it's okay. But now he's like, present the information. You can choose now how you want to play it out.
So as part of this discerning truth is going to then like determine people's cultural background and whether or not they are fit for acceptance into this culture.
No, not one bit.
Okay.
The issue is this is that it appears that a minority with a foreign intuition is attempting to impose its version of what is to be or what should be, right, upon the native population here without asking and attempting to command them by virtue of position in authoritative government. So authoritarianism, it's just frankly just unacceptable.
Should Western culture submit themselves to the First Nations populations and indigenous people? And
wait, when did I say that?
I'm just asking if
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I don't know where you're getting that. So I'm like, I'll listen, but it's like, it sounds like I'm going to have to make a rude answer and I really don't want to, man. Because it's like this, it's like, no. So the indigenous population, I have to address this now that you've brought it up and now you're making me be rude without you having to be rude. How about that? So it goes like this. Here's how it goes. So one of the claims is this is, and I probably won't ever get to publish this because it's too rude. It goes like this is, the claim is you're on stolen land. And it's like, no, that's not what it is.
Okay.
I'm on land which has a competing claim which was defeated. The claim that I am with is sustained by virtue of force. And it's like, there's the claim that succeeds, not the claim that loses. The claim that loses has no claim. It's just a competing claim that's failed. Okay, which is like, it's not pretty, is it? It's just a competing claim.
Yeah.
And it's like, that one doesn't work. And I'm not buying into the guilt story of blah, 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 blah. Because it's like, that one doesn't work. Because they couldn't sustain their claim. And I'll tell you a funny story, because this is a funny story. So I have a dear friend who went to med school, sat next to me in med school, and I still talk to him. And I asked him the question. So he's a good leftist, okay? There's a couple questions that I'm gonna submit here. And they're funny because it's funny. Because I'm like, I have frequency of occasion to interact with him. And it's like, I asked him one time, I said, listen, okay, here's what's gonna happen. Through magical intervention by me, I'm going to transport you back in time to the moment on the eastern shore of the North American continent when the first boats are coming over with the white devils from Europe. And you have the opportunity to advise the natives on how to interact with them upon the moment of their arrival. And I want to know what your advice is. You know what he says to me? This is killer. Because I'm like looking for something totally different. He says, many of you are going to die. Try to preserve as much as you can. And I'm like, that's the shit advice of ever. It's like the worst pep rally ever. I'm like, I'm waiting for you to say, kill them all and burn the boats, right? Which is what my advice would be. Yeah, but it's like this. So here's the question.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, this is so not publishable, man.
Oh,
I'm like,
no.
and John, you're gonna have to figure this one out by yourself. It goes like this because it's like this. So given that advice, right? Why would you expect me to do different at the southern border? Good luck with that one. That is an intentional pincher point.
Your doctor colleague is representative of speaking at the southern border as to how to proceed.
No, that was about the Eastern Seaboard when the whites are coming here,
Okay.
and I'm like, why would I be different than that which is happening at the southern border?
To preserve what you can.
That's not what's going to happen. We'll preserve what we can, but it's like, well, I'm not just opening the border up and letting them roll over here. That's silly talk. That's look. Any cell that has an open cell wall dies. It's done. It's essential to have a cell border to have a functional system. It has to have a border. You have to be able to regulate what's going on.
We've had border conversations.
Oh, I know. We don't have to have it right now. It's good.
I don't. That could go in a couple of different ways.
It's okay, man. But it's okay. It's like that. But so he didn't take the bait. He took it the wrong way. I'm like, wow, did trip me out, right? The other thing I asked him another one.
How did he respond?
I told you what he responded. It's like I totally was defanged. I couldn't take.
When you on the southern border.
I didn't ask him because it's like he said the wrong answer. It's like that because it's like I couldn't ask the second question because it's like he answered the wrong question. I'm like, how about that? Never expected that one, right? Which is like, that's what's interesting. Hanging out with him, he's all right. Just so.
But he probably does. Would have the same response on the southern border.
I know,
right? But
I'm like, we're not taking his advice.
Okay.
His advice sucks. His advice is how you lose. You get it? That's the losing answer. We don't take the loser advice for the losing answer to lose me. That's just not working for me. Okay, because it's like we already proved that it loses. Didn't we?
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same. I believe it's different when there's an ocean. There's a bit more investment involved in travels across the ocean.
So is it easier
when the southern border was more porous? There was much more free travel back and forth, rather than
when
prior NAFTA, prior.
I don't think there was near as much as there is this year.
I think probably a lot of these things there's like a greater awareness because of.
Oh, okay. I find that to be a spurious answer. No, I'm not going to argue because we don't have a real good way to get the numbers. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there have been studies on these numbers, and I think that the level of, I believe there's been the camps and the attention that they're receiving is because it has been made greater difficulty traveling both north and south of that border. And I think that in the last people were allowed to return, that I believe that they would return as opposed to staying, which once they have that greater investment in their travels, just crossing the ocean, people are much more likely to stay than return to their homes, which they would probably.
I don't understand that one, man. I don't understand you bringing the oceans in there. I don't understand.
Okay. So the eastern shore, the Europeans came and they stayed.
Yeah.
Which was probably the downfall. And to give an example with the doctor and his opinion.
Yeah.
So that was the downfall. And I believe
the downfall of the natives.
So I think that likewise with the southern border, if they were more porous as to previous border walls building, that people would come, work seasonally, and then there'd be more free flow of.
No, that's hypothetical. That's conjectural, man. It's like you're just making stuff up, man. Because you wait. The basic verb in the statement is believe, which is I have faith, which is like faith-based statements, man. Come on, it's like that's a faith-based statement. It's not based on Nothing. It's based on.
I don't have the footnotes.
We're not in argument. It's no. There's no. You don't even have divining rods. You're just making shit up.
No, there is. I cannot state studies, but there have been studies as to what happened since the building of barriers on the border wall. People have been far more inclined to stay than to travel back to their home communities.
I don't even know what to say. This is a very big problem here. I think it's a big problem. And it's like, well, let's see what happens next. That's next. That one's problematic, man. That's okay.
Free market, free flow of labor.
I don't agree with that premise. It's like, I think that the issue has to do with there should be a the Europeans called noblesse oblige, right? That the people who are the nobles of the society owe something to the regular people of the society. Okay, and it's like they owe their position to the small people in the society. Okay, and it's like importing a bunch of smaller people doesn't sound like it helps the small people, right? It's like take advantage of the smallest people you can bring in by the droves and the hell with everybody else. So it's a good way to enserf the entire population, which is to the nobles' advantage if that's what they intend to do, which appears to be what's occurring. That's how I see it. And that's objectionable to me because it's like you're abandoning your people and you're just throwing them to the dogs. It's like that's beyond rude. No argument.
I guess it comes down to how you identify your people.
So it's like that, like you could go like this. You go back to 1648, which is the Treaty of Westphalia, which is your nation, right? That was one way to understand who your people are, right? Beyond that, it's kin, kith, right? Which is people who are genetically like you, right? And beyond that, it's tribe, right? And then beyond that, it's like just family. And it's like the issue in that one is that's how I see it operating, which is that there are alien elements inside Western civilization that are more tribal, and we're not as tribal as most. And I haven't got the footnotes. There's no footnotes. Sorry. Well, I don't want to be rude. I'm not going to pretend I do. That seems more rude. So but it's like that it is in fact, that with regard to acceptance of other genetic groups, like races, sub-races, or whatever, the Anglos are among the most generous with regard to openness and acceptance of. And I believe that's what the research shows. And it's like, okay, and I'm, being that what it is, but I think that this is the if you look at Western civilization, the weakness is the tolerance. We tolerate a lot of stuff, and it's like, but we tolerate more than we should with regard to alien forces that are seeking to bend us to their will, right? And break us into pieces. And it's like, okay, that's not interesting, right? Because we survived. We did best by cooperation at scale, by adherence to natural law, or you don't do what's wrong and you can do whatever you want. And it's experimental, and we learn a lot and make a lot of mistakes, but we advance. And I do believe that the issue with regard to the elements that did all the bad things that you would point to, like the slavery and all that, I don't regard them as particularly Western in origin. They're using archaic forms to enslave other people which is that we didn't invent that. That came from outside. Other people were doing that. We weren't doing that, and then we started doing that. So somebody picked up on it, and it's like, well, that I don't regard that as a Western innovation by any means. right? It's like to hold the Western civilization accountable is just because they have the money. That's the only purpose of holding Western civilization accountable, because I want to loot them, because other civilizations were doing it and are still doing it. And it's like, I don't see you want to take their money. Oh, they don't have any money. You just want money, right? And it's like, and that makes you special. How? I mean, does that make sense? It's like, everybody wants my money. And it's like, I don't regard it as a particularly interesting claim, right? That's kind of how I see it. And it's like, okay. And I'm like I say, okay. It's all very interesting. And like, but whatever. Like I talked to my friend, the good doctor. Okay, I asked him this other question, which is another rude question. It's intentional. I worked this out. I try to invent one a week.
Okay.
This one goes like this. Since we've been talking for 25 years, I asked him the question. I said, we have discussed many matters, and we have solved no social problems in 25 years. And furthermore, we have agreed on little. I said, so there must exist inside your head some little model that defines how it's possible that I can be so frequently wrong. And I want to know what that theory is. He didn't tell me. Then I asked my wife the same thing, because she's also disagreeable with me. She's very clever. She's probably more clever than I am. I'm too square. She says, what's your theory for me?
Right. That's what I thought the doctor was going to respond.
I said, well intended, bad information. So she says, how do you know it's me?
You need to get a judge.
There's a judge. She's going to figure it out sooner or later. And it's okay. I'm not holding my breath, okay? Because it's like this. I think the truth will come out. The evidence will become evident to everybody that's capable of accepting it. And it's like, what's that mean? I don't quite know. Just watching the show, right? We don't have to like it. It's a rough ride. It's a rough ride. It's like, the thing I don't want to see is a more violence, destruction in the street. It's just this nonsense that we had last year. I don't want to see that stuff. Okay. And I expect to see some. I don't think it's going to come. Like the issue is this, it's like when they did this thing, they defunded all the police, right? Just listen to me for a minute before you disagree, because I haven't finished. It seems early to disagree with me.
Start though.
No, they defunded the police, and they reduced police on minority violence to like 300. They cut 300 deaths down. Okay, in those districts, 6,000 extra deaths by crime. So it's like that. The math speaks for itself, in my opinion, but they say math is white supremacy or some nonsense, don't they? Is that not true?
Yes, it could be.
Just pulling your chain. Yeah. That's all right. It's all right. It's like that, because
crime went down when the New York police struck. So
did it? Oh, I would look for the footnote on that one.
Okay.
Because that's I don't believe that.
I'll get the footnote. You give me the footnote on what police departments divest.
Oh, I got to write a note for myself. Okay. Gosh, man. We'll try to put them in the show notes. Hey, hit like and subscribe below, because come on.
Because this country spends almost as much on their military, the police, as they do their military, and we spend more.
Wait, I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know that that's
more
true.
on the military than
I know.
other countries.
I don't think we spend anywhere near as much.
Oh,
as
it's an obscene amount of money on our police, and they're pretty much a military force in our streets. So
wait. Am I supposed to argue with you on this? Because I don't think I ever have argued with you on such matters. So it's it's going to be boring, because I'm not going to argue. I'm just going to go, yeah, okay.
So how are they not to be divested?
I don't have an answer for that. Okay, I know how to do it. We have to what's the right word? I know, think about it.
Okay, so another point. A lot of these larger metro
I didn't
cities,
get an answer.
like Chicago and New York, they spend like a huge obscene amount of their yearly budget just dealing with court trials from police misconduct. Like an obscene amount of the budget. Like how can that not be used better in communities?
Shut the courts down.
The ones that are going to determine truth?
Yeah.
Okay.
Shut them down.
Good.
Then they won't give the city's money away. Okay. Well, what?
Shut the courts down you want. And
I'm just giving you the answer. You don't have to like the answer. It's okay because it's like this. It's like the you just said you to break the country up into little pieces, man. You govern it how you want, right? What? That's what I would do.
Yeah.
That was how Europe.
I mean, isn't that kind of the idea of like the states' rights to some degree? Is that like the states are supposed to?
Yeah, I would do that in a minute.
I mean, isn't there
disempower the feds? Disempower the feds entirely because it's like they're the problem. The problem is the problem in my mind is a universalist attitude of the people who wish to command me. They think everybody should listen to their commands. I'm like, you're a madman. Okay, so it's like the issue would be something like make a government that actually is close enough to the people to listen to the people and is obliged to listen to the people, as opposed to this faraway land where they get to do whatever they want and tell you whatever they want and not listen to you because you're so small and far away you don't count.
But not a democracy, because then the little and the poor would dominate, and we don't want.
I know it's like this. No, I don't. Democracy. I would say we strictly limit who gets to be citizens, which is to say, if you're willing to stand up and fight for that, which is the social order that we've decided to achieve, then you're a citizen. If you're a dependent, you're not qualified to be a citizen because you can't even manage your household. As soon as you can stand up on your own 2 feet and manage your household, then you can perhaps be a citizen if you're willing to fight for what is necessary to maintain the state. Right? Because there's going to be an obligation if you're going to have a benefit. Right? And you're going to claim a say as a benefit. And it's like everybody else, they can move on if they don't like it. Right? And it's that nobody have to like any of it. I've been saying this at work. It's like this, because see, I like this. The computer used to be my tool that helps me do my job. Now it's a yoke that tools on me. Okay? And here's the lesson. Ready? The ox does not have to like the yoke. Does that make sense? And it's not pretty, is it? So it's like this. It's like when you can stand up on your own and manage your own stuff, or you can find a better place to go for it. I'm good with that. That's done no harm, no foul. Okay? But until then, we'll take care of you as best we can. Right? That's all. And it's like, I don't know. It's like what the social contract should be. And it's like, I think this gradations of social involvement is reasonable. Because it's like people who are absolute dependents, they sure should not be voting. You're not qualified to vote because you can't do anything. We're taking care of you. You're like a baby. We don't let babies vote. That's stupid. Okay? An adult who can manage their affairs gets to vote. And that's by demonstrated interest. They can demonstrate that they can do it, which is nobody's helping you. You're doing it.
But still, your point previously was that the society has an obligation to uplift those that.
Yeah,
but
you
they
provide
just don't have a say in how the system is too.
Well, it's like, yeah, there has to be I think you create a ladder by which they can enter into full participation, right? And that's how I see to do it. You create a system that encourages them to rise up into the higher ranks of social involvement, because you want the people to be most productive, most active, and generative of positive potentials for everybody, right? At every level, there has to be some way that person can feel like they're positively engaged. That way they can feel like a human being, right? But it's rude. It's rude to expect a guy who has a 60 IQ to participate in the modern economy at full competition, right? He's handicapped.
right? We give him a handicap and we take care of him and let him shine shoes in the airport or whatever he's going to do. And then he can feel productive and you know what I mean? But we don't expect him to go learn how to code, right? Because that's not going to happen, right? That's the trick. And it's like, so we have to adjust our dials to make it so there's a systematic way to allow participation, which we don't have right now. We have sink or swim, right? And that's just rude. I don't like that so good. And it's like, because I do, and this is coming straight from Doolittle, which is like, this is just crazy to expect them to participate in a full contact, competitive environment in the modern era. It's just too much contact. So it's like, so you create a mechanism, and the church did this before, right? This was interesting because it's like, so Karl Marx called it, well, he goes, the church is the opiate of the peoples, because it created a system whereby people can have social status without being economically advantaged. Because you're a good person and everybody recognizes you as a good person in the church, regardless of what you have, because you take care of people. Does that make sense? And it's like, it is an opiate of the people. But the Marxists don't like the opiate of the people because we want alienated people to use as tools against the middle class. Does that make sense? Because it's like, when I get you mad, then I can enrage you and cause you to do stupid, destructive things that damage the middle class and destroy the system so that the Marxists can be in charge. That was disturbing to you. You don't like that?
It wasn't disturbing. I'm not sure if I'm tracking or I'm familiar enough with the argument to.
It's okay.
To come back.
That's okay. Let it steep for a week or something like that.
Yeah. But
it's like dueling, man. It's like, we'll meet again.
Yeah.
It's all right, huh? It's great. I don't know that we can publish any of this. It's too controversial, man. I'm nervous about this.
Who's the judge?
The audience, the people.
But who determines if it gets published or not?
I am, I suppose. I'll let John look at it. He looks at all this stuff. I don't know what he'll do. He might cut bits out or something. And it's okay, because it's like, I don't mind. I just like that. It's like this. The shit show is the lefties are they're a mob, and they're dangerous and violent as far as I'm concerned. Okay, but why does that make you laugh? That's just rude. I hope so. That was a real answer.
I hope so.
Oh my. Oh my. I don't think you do. I think that was just silly talk.
Maybe.
Because it's like this. It's like the other team is like a powder keg. It's primed and ready, man. It's ready to blow. And it's like just watching for the signal. So the signal could be like anything. I don't know what the signal is, right? I tell the men, it's like, there's going to be plenty to get mad about. Keep your powder dry. Know who your friends are. Wait for the signal. You'll know what to do, and you'll know what the signal is, although I can't specify it this time. Okay? Because it's like this. It's like the signal might not come. Who knows? But it's like this. Is like, hopefully we don't get a signal. But it could be anything. They're threatening Rand Paul right now. You assassinate him, who the hell knows what will happen? Right? It's like, so I'm like this. I'm like, it's all madness. What's that mean? Oh, I'm turning it off, man. Hey, thanks for coming. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Best Medicine Podcast with Bradley H. Werrell, D.O. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe below, either over there or over there. Also, if you're interested in a medical consultation with myself, there's also information below.